Cheryl Swoops, she can't not try to light a fire involving Caitlin Clark. She can't just be good.
Cheryl Swoops just can't help herself. She can't resist lighting a fire when it comes to Caitlin Clark. She's not content with Clark simply being great. No, she has to throw shade again.
She's trolling Caitlin Clark again, this time by celebrating the arrival of Paige Becker.
With that being said, you big dummies, you getting paid now.
Right.
You asked me about Caitlin. If you're going to break a record, to me, if it's legitimate, you have to break that record in the same amount of time that that player said it.
Okay.
This time, in the form of a silent but loud move, walking onto Gilbert Arenas' podcast wearing a Paige Bucher's t-shirt. At first glance, maybe it looks like simple support for a promising young star. But let's not kid ourselves. This wasn't a warm endorsement. It was a subtle jab, a calculated swipe at Caitlin Clark, carefully disguised as praise for someone else. This is what Swoops does now. Downplay Clark at every turn. It's consistent. It's petty.
Right. Saw her get replaced during the Fever game for the Dallas Wings commentary team last year because of words and the hate she had towards Caitlin Clark. And it was just one thing after another. I said yesterday, even Stephen A. Smith crushed her last year.
And it's becoming embarrassingly obvious. This is the same Cheryl Swoops who, when asked about Clark breaking records, said, "If you're going to break a record, it needs to be done in the same amount of time the original player did it." Really? Because we're not talking about cake recipes. We're talking about basketball evolution, pace of play, and straight-up greatness. The brighter Caitlin Clark shines, the more uncomfortable Swoops seems to get. She isn't passing the torch.
Caitlin is fantastic, and I think she's going to have an incredible career in the WNBA.
Who's going to be the next face of the NBA? We don't get to decide that. The marketplace decides that. The people have chosen Caitlin Clark.
What is she doing wrong? What more do you want from Caitlin Clark? Seriously, what more do you want from her? She's focusing on the game. She lifted her team up, got them to the playoffs, won Rookie of the Year, and then also is denouncing racial tensions when she's asked about it. I'm sorry, I don't see anything more that Caitlin Clark should have done or could have done.
That's what a lot of these women are doing, is they feel like what we have done for this game, this young player has come into our game and she's getting way more respect and all that stuff than we are. As she should. The young girl is a baller. The young girl has people watching because of the way she can shoot this basketball like Steph Curry. Steph Curry can't dunk. Steph Curry don't do none of that in the game. He can probably dunk by himself, but he don't really do none of that in the game. He is a shooter, and fans tune in to see Steph Curry.
She's guarding it like it's her pension. Let's not forget, Swoops was removed from commentary duties during a Fever Wings game last year due to her anti-Clark takes. Stephen A. Smith even called her out publicly. And now, here we are again. Different move, same energy. This isn't about lifting Paige Beckers. It's about burying Caitlin Clark without having the guts to say it directly. But here's the kicker. Clark didn't ask for the spotlight. She earned it. She didn't rise through PR hype political soundbites. She rose because she hoops. Record-breaking numbers, leadership, poise, efficiency, historic rookie season. No gimmicks, just game. So if you're tired of these gatekeeping WNBA legends trying to run smear campaigns on Clark, drop a CC4 MVP in the comments. Because this isn't just shady, it's strategic. And we see right through it. Swoop's problem isn't with Clark's attitude or media coverage. Her problem is control. For years, she and others from the old guard controlled the narrative. Now, a Midwest kid with a cannon for a jumper has flipped the entire script, and she did it without their permission. You want to talk numbers? Let's talk numbers. Caitlin Clark's rookie season stats already eclipse Swoop's MVP season. That's not an opinion, that's a fact. Points, assists, efficiency, impact. Caitlin's name is already etched into the record books, and she's just getting started. So yeah, when you show up in a Becker's shirt now of all times, after years of ignoring her, it's not support, it's shade. It's a drive-by subtweet in cotton form. It says, "I'll support a white player, just not that white player." Let's be real, Paige Beckers is great. She doesn't need to be dragged into this as a pawn. She deserves to stand on her own, not be weaponized in someone else's bitterness. But that's what this is. A legacy figure, feeling threatened, doing what legacy figures do when they're no longer at the center. Deflect, diminish, and distract. But the problem for Swoops and others? Fans are smarter now. They've seen the digs. They've clocked the patterns. We all saw it coming the moment Caitlin started dominating headlines. And don't forget, The WNBA was growing before Clark. That's true, but the growth now? It's exponential. Record-breaking viewership, sold-out arenas, global buzz, all fueled by Clark's arrival. And that's the part that some vets, including Swoops, just can't stomach because Caitlin Clark doesn't need their blessing. She doesn't need their mentorship. She is the moment. So Cheryl, you can wear all the shirts you want, but the fans, the numbers, and the future? They're all wearing one name, Clark. But here's the kicker. Clark didn't ask for the spotlight, she earned it. She didn't rise through PR hype, WNBA politics, or legacy handouts. She climbed the hard way, through game. Pure, undeniable game. She's been under the microscope since college, taking punches from the media, fan bases, and even league veterans. And all she's done is perform. She's not some viral flash in the pan. She's the real deal, a basketball savant with court vision that would make Magic Johnson nod in approval and a logo-range jumper that warps defenses before she even crosses half court. Her IQ is elite, her pace is deliberate, and her presence, game-changing. When Clark pulls up from 30 feet, defenses panic. When she threads a bounce pass through traffic, she creates buckets out of nothing. She dictates the game, not as a rookie trying to fit in, but as a star commanding attention from day one. That's not manufactured hype, that's generational talent, and what makes it more powerful? She's doing all of this while carrying the weight of the league's future on her shoulders. Every arena she steps into, the tickets are sold out. Every game she plays, TV ratings spike. Every quote, every highlight, every crossover is dissected and amplified. Not just by WNBA media, but by the entire sports world. This is pressure. Real pressure. And she's thriving under it. Meanwhile, her critics, Swoops included, act like she's been handed this moment on a silver platter. But the truth? Clark worked for this. She grinded through the hate, the injuries, the dismissals, and the gatekeeping to arrive exactly where she is now, at the epicenter of a cultural and competitive shift in women's basketball. She's not just in the spotlight, she is the spotlight. And that's what burns the most for some of the old guard, because for years, they controlled the narrative. They were the standard. The ones who got to decide who was worthy of attention and who wasn't. Who respected the game and who didn't. Now, that control is slipping. And Clark? She's not asking for approval. She's rewriting the story entirely. So no, she's not riding a wave. She is the wave. And this is where the tension with legends like Cheryl Swoops really hits home. Because let's be real, this isn't just about Caitlin Clark's game. It's about control. It's about power. It's about the uncomfortable reality that the WNBA is entering a new era, and the old gatekeepers aren't the ones steering the ship anymore. Swoops, for all her greatness, and make no mistake, she's one of the best to ever do it, came up in a different time. A time when women's basketball had to fight tooth and nail just to be seen. She was a pioneer, pushing through barriers, carrying the weight of representation, and demanding respect in a world that didn't want to give it. But now, the spotlight isn't being demanded. It's being earned. Organically. Authentically. Clark didn't have to beg people to watch. She made them care. Through shot-making, swagger, and substance. Through results. That's a power shift. And power shifts are uncomfortable, especially for those who fought hard to build something and now feel like they're losing control of its direction. What Swoops represents is a generation that believes respect is earned slowly, humbly, over time. What Clark represents is a generation that believes respect is demanded and deserved the moment you prove your value on the court. And that generational clash is creating friction. So when Swoops says Clark hasn't earned anything, what she's really saying is, she hasn't earned it the way I did. But that's not Clark's fault. She's not disrespecting the past, she's redefining the future. She's not minimizing what came before, she's building on top of it. But building doesn't always mean preserving everything. Sometimes it means evolving, and that evolution feels threatening. Because Caitlin Clark is not just drawing attention to herself, she's changing the expectations for what a women's basketball star looks like. She's setting a new bar for what rookie impact can mean. She's cutting through the politics, the hierarchy, and the unspoken rules of how you're supposed to act, and doing it her way. To Swoops, that might look like disrespect, but to an entire new generation of hoopers and fans, It looks like freedom. And that's the real issue. The fear that the old rules don't apply anymore. That the culture they built is being rewritten by someone who wasn't supposed to be the one doing the rewriting. But guess what? That's what generational talents do. It's not just what Caitlin Clark is doing on the court, it's what she's doing off it that's rewriting the entire WNBA ecosystem. Because while veterans and former players argue about whether she's earned her stripes, the business world isn't waiting for permission. Ticket sales are spiking. Merchandise is flying. National TV slots, once rare for regular season games, are now centering around Indiana Fever matchups. Why? One reason: Caitlin Clark. This isn't hype, it's measurable impact. Before she even plays a minute of professional ball, she's altering the financial structure of teams and the league itself. The Indiana Fever went from afterthought to box office gold. Road games against the Fever are now the ticket to get. Arena upgrades are being discussed. Staff are being added. And the media, they're sending NBA-level coverage teams just to follow her every move. That's power. That's economic leverage. And not everyone knows how to handle that, especially in a league that's never had a player like this before. And here's where the culture clash gets even louder. Because some veterans feel like they did all the hard work, fighting for crumbs, getting snubbed for endorsements, playing overseas just to make a living. And now here comes Caitlin Clark, breaking records, signing $28 million Nike deals, and getting treated like a superstar from day one. To them, it looks like skipping the line. To them, it feels unfair. But that's not Clark's fault. That's a reflection of the system finally catching up to its own potential. Clark isn't the reason the WNBA players were underpaid and undermarketed. She's the proof that they always should have been bigger. She's not the problem. She's the tipping point. Culturally, she's also expanding the WNBA's reach. This is a league that for years was siloed, popular among die-hard women's sports fans, but struggling to cross over into the mainstream. Now, Clark's pulling in new demographics: NBA fans, college fans, casual fans. Even people who never watched a women's game before are tuning in and staying. That threatens the status quo too. Because some players and fans built a tight-knit, almost underground community around the WNBA, one built on loyalty, shared struggle, and identity. Clark's arrival feels like outsiders are flooding in, changing the vibe, and getting all the attention. But here's the truth: you can't grow and stay niche. You can't expand your platform and still expect things to feel the same. Clark isn't just a star, she's a disruptor. She's forcing conversations about how women's sports are marketed, funded, and consumed. And whether the league likes it or not, it has to adjust. Because the business is moving where the audience goes, and the audience is going wherever Caitlin Clark goes. The question isn't whether she belongs, it's whether the WNBA is ready to evolve fast enough to meet the moment she's creating.